Yeah, let's start with names in the news. Let's start with Rory McIlroy. He has been so vociferous about the LIV and what it's done to pro golf and rating the PGA, and he condemned those guys that took the blood money and went abroad, the Phil Mickelsons, the Dustin Johnsons, and now John Rahm. He just said this week, and Rory has not played on the tour yet. He had played over in Dubai the first couple of weeks when the tour was in Hawaii and then in California. Rory McIlroy says the PGA needs to get this merger done with LIV, and they need to allow all the defectors to come back with no penalty, no buy-in. Because in essence, and we talked about this last week at Torrey Pines, all of a sudden the PGA rosters are depleted. I mean, yes, Farmers Open, phenomenal finish. Nobody knew who those golfers were. All the marquee names have gone. So Rory McIlroy goes public, does a U-turn, doesn't get a parking ticket, and says, let's get this merger done. Let's allow the LIV guys to come back and be part of our tour, and let's not penalize them for what they did. Now, the LIV, this is a shocker. They're about to raid the PGA for another star. They're talking about taking the Norway star, Victor Hovland. He's the next one that might jump. They just took Ty Hatton from England, who's a young guy. And, of course, prior to that, they took John Rahm. So McIlroy's gone very public, says, let's get this deal done so we can get everybody back playing in a lot of the tournament stops. Okay, so we go from golf. Bob Baffert. You know, he's been involved in this war since 2021 over Medina Spirit, the Kentucky Derby winner, who tested positive for drugs in the system. That horse tragically died later that year. Bob Baffert's in the middle of a third-year suspension at Churchill Downs. In the past 2 years, he had taken his stable of horses and assigned it to other trainers because part of the suspension is Baffert can't train horses to enter in the Derby or the whole weekend of the Derby. Last 2 years, he assigned his horses to other trainers. They ran. This year, he said no. Even though he's dropped all of his lawsuits against Churchill Downs, and even though he's still serving, quote, a third year of a sanction, he has decided, I'm not going to make my guys available at Churchill Downs. He's entering all 18 of the horses in a stable that he trains. Will go to the Preakness, will go to the Belmont Stakes for their big weekends. So Baffert, I don't know if this is a response, this is retaliation, or he just decided, I'm not going to make my guys available. So that's a bit of a blow because he trained some of the elite 3-year-olds that would have been in the Kentucky Derby field. Soccer, Gio Reyna, new mailing address, with the help, and this is weird, with the help of Greg Berhalter, Team USA's men's World Cup soccer coach, who they had feuded with. He has been transferred from Dortmund, Germany, landing point this weekend, Nottingham Forest, English Premier League.
Cool.
He had been related to sitting on the bench in Germany. Why would Dortmund not play this guy? Because you can see flashes of the guy's upside, but they didn't play him. He asked out, released early from his contract. He arrives at Nottingham Forest, and he will be in the starting lineup. Hockey. We had talked leading up to the NHL draft about the Anaheim Ducks had the second pick in the draft. What are they going to do? And they took the Swedish young forward, Leo Carlsson, who's played well till he got hurt. And the third player went to Columbus, and that was Adam Fantilli, star, University of Michigan. Fantilli just got hurt, skate cut, back of the calf. Got sliced, gone minimum 8 weeks. And he was wearing all the protective gear. They have this Kelvo protection that hockey players wear around their calves down to their Achilles. And the skate cut, it was a fluke hit. Went through all the protective gear.
Oh, wow.
So calf injury, Fantilli is out. He scored 12 goals this season. Ugly story in Canada. 4 NHL players have taken leaves of absence. They are being sued. They're going to court, have had to turn themselves into London, Ontario over a, quote, alleged gang rape back in 2018 when they were all young players playing for the Canadian national team in the World Hockey Championships, including the goaltender Philadelphia Flyers. All the players say it was consensual sex with a woman in London, Ontario, while they were playing in the tournament. The Flyers goaltender says he is not going to plead guilty. He will plead not guilty. Big racing story that just broke. Lewis Hamilton, legendary driver, Mercedes, has won 99 career races, has won the championship 6 times. Lewis Hamilton has just announced he is leaving Mercedes at the end of this year. He's signing a big money contract to go to Ferrari. He's had a real tough time the last 2 years because Mercedes woke up one day and they could not build engines that would work. And they have not been competitive for 2 straight years. And Lewis Hamilton, the Brit star, has not won a race in the last 2 years. Max Verstappen and Team Red Bull have figured it all out technically, and they have dominated in Formula One. And then there's Taylor Swift. All things Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. Here's the gut feel. If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, Travis Kelce will kneel down and ask Taylor Swift to marry him on network TV. Keep an eye on that.
Really?
Because every time Travis Kelce makes a play in a Kansas City Chief game, the next shot is on what's going on in the owner's booth with Taylor Swift. This is fascinating to see how the world has just responded to this woman and everywhere she's been. So to me, it's just utterly spectacular at this point that she has become a magnet. And the NFL just stands there and says, that's okay. Because based on what Taylor does on all her social media accounts, and hell, she's got more viewers than you and me.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Based on what she does, she keeps directing all of her followers, and there's a few million, like 3 million of them, to come sample NFL games. So that's all part of watching games on TV. So those are the names in the news. John, I'll let you cherry pick what you want to talk about.
Well, if I'm going to cherry pick, I'm going to talk about Taylor Swift. So there are so many ridiculous storylines to this whole thing. Like, number one, did you see how people think there's this conspiracy theory that she's a psyops and, CIA, and it's all a ruse?
It's part of the deep state.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Doesn't matter.
And then they're afraid, that she's going to influence voters one way or the other on the election. Then there's the other dynamic of people that just get so angry every time they show her in the booth. And, you talked about Jack Nicholson earlier in this podcast episode. How many times do we see him at Lakers games or we see Spike Lee in the front row of the New York Knicks? I mean, to me, it's entertainment. That's what all sports is.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. I think it's cool. They showed the one video 2 weeks ago of her sitting in the owner's booth with a bunch of her friends, and they're all doing this dance. And that's kind of cool.
It is.
Okay, we saw that. That's great. Let's go back and watch the 3rd and 6th play they got to run.
Well, and plus it's the NFL. There's always that, 40-second play clock in between, and they've got to fill in that space. And they always look around at crazy people in the stands. And if there ever is a celebrity, they get them. And I think it's cool, and the fact that she's going to fly back, from, Singapore or Tokyo or something to go to the Super Bowl. Not good on global warming, I'll tell you that if you want to have a political angle, but I think it's kind of a neat little story. Will it turn into a proposal? Remember that happened with, was it a Boise State player proposed to the cheerleader about 10 years ago? So maybe that's what it'll be. But I think everything about Taylor Swift in the NFL is awesome. And it's fun for the Swifties and it's fun for the NFL people, except the curmudgeons to get angry when she shows up on TV.
The NFL's power couple.
Yes.
Travis and Taylor.
Yeah, I like it.
So what's your quick response on Rory doing a U-turn on Baffert?
Well, I mean, Rory is right. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, we have been blessed with having here at the Torrey Pines, the Farmers Open, so many great golfers. And you're right. Who the hell were these guys?
Not that they're bad guys. It was fun to watch, what that French player accomplished with all the pressure on him. But who are these guys?
Right. Well, and then on top of it, I keep rooting for our local guy, Xander Schauffele, and say, darn it, go and win one of these things. But he always is in the top 5. He just doesn't seem to win very many. So yeah, they need to get their act together and bring the stars home and just, kiss and make up, and let's just move forward with all the guys, all golfing. And if the LIV wants to add some innovation to team play, I'm okay with that. If they want to have men's and women team play, I think that's good too. We can still be creative, but we got to get over this grudge match.
LIV schedule starts this weekend. John Rahm makes his debut with all the other big money guys.
Yeah, who's watching?
You gonna watch?
No.
Where are you gonna find the game?
I don't even know. I mean, I wouldn't know. Is it even on TV? Or
you just answered your own question. Hey, we get to the finish line. Our podcast is brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers.